GM, GM. Can you guys hear me? How is everyone doing? Santorin, good to see you. Our newest community mod, wielding the power to make Star Atlas a peaceful Discord. Emperor Jitblade, Jindo, Tango Mike, Sakalane, Raiden, Erder, Vincent, Ahota, Sifwall, Mr. Star, Defex, Matt, Vincent, Suro, Golop Meta. How is everyone doing on this day blessed by Iris? All good, all good? Today is a very important day. We are going to interview or discuss the next police election. The candidates will be here on stage. We have 3 nominees today, and the 3 of them are here. So I'm going to talk with them, a very chill conversation on their views about the DAO, about the council, about the future of Star Atlas, the economy, and everything more related to our ecosystem, which is very important. This might be the DAO election that will move us through a new phase of the bull market, God willing. Um, I want to. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling excited. We are progressing well. The market is giving signs of a possible recovery. So let's enjoy our day. Let's talk about Star Atlas and let's welcome to the stage the dark horse of Star Atlas, Mr. Swagger.
Good
PM.
morning. Good morning. How are you?
How are you doing, Michael?
Yeah, good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I excited to hear about the doll. I'm a little concerned because the baby's crying on the backstage, so I'll just close the door here just 1 sec, guys. Sorry, I'm
Did
back.
someone cancel my GIF? What is this?
What happened with your GIF? It's not working?
I think I got canceled.
Who would do something like this?
I
This
blame
is
Jindo.
absurd. This is absurd. Skill issue. So yeah, Michael, today our main topic here is the DAO election. We have our council members here on the stage. Really good that you are here because you may represent Automata side. Oh, it's back. The horse is back.
See, I called Jindo out and he reactivated it.
Exactly, he was scared. So yeah, we are going to talk about the DAO, about the council, the whole, Jesus Christ. This penguin, man, it damages my soul whenever I see it. For real, like, it's the most horrific thing ever produced by humanity.
And the
So yeah,
resemblance to you is uncanny.
no way you said that. I'm going. Too much. Oh man. So yeah, we are going to talk about the DAO. We are going to learn about the candidates, their lives, their experience, their proposals for the DAO, their view on the Stratos community, their favorite flavor of ice cream, and anything else that you guys want to learn about each one of them. And also, uh, if time allows, we are going to talk about our grind on the last stages of phase 2 of the C4 PTR because we have been working hard. You will often see me and John in the trenches of the C4 PTR test, just basically assaulting you guys for any information on bugs, quality of life improvements, And on the other side, Michael is with the whip, making sure that we are meeting the goals for the start of phase three. So there is a lot going on, a lot to discuss, and Michael will surely have interesting insights on this whole process. So we are 5 minutes on the show. I think mostly everyone is here, and maybe we can start bringing our council candidates upstage. Guys, raise your hands. I'd love to have all of you here. GM, Arthur, Shiftblade, Emperor.
GM.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Doing
Good.
great.
Just been basically right before the Brew was throwing together the pip for the election.
Oh, that's important.
Yes, it needs like we want it to go up to vote ideally on the third, so it kind of needs to get to the kitchen today or tomorrow.
Mhm.
So as I said in chat, this is now the absolute last call to nominate because once I send things to the kitchen and it goes up, it's going to be a lot harder to change anything if anybody wants to add themselves.
Absolutely. And here I wanna do a small caveat and summon you guys to also come participate in this process. As I was saying in the beginning, there is a non-negligible chance that this is the beginning of a new phase, not only for Star Atlas, but for the whole crypto ecosystem. We are hopefully seeing signs of a possible change on the trend on the crypto markets. And if things kick off here and compound, it can move very fast. So the more people we have working on the council, the better served will be the Staratas economy, the Staratas ecosystem, and their overall vision for our metaverse. So you don't, I think the most important thing here is passion about the Stratas ecosystem, passion about the product that we are developing as a community, as dreamers of this vision that is Star Atlas. And if you have that, if you have the best interests of Star Atlas in your heart, I would urge you to raise to the challenge of being a member of the council and participating on the ecosystem and helping us drive the community and the project forward. And with that said, sorry, Jitblade, I cutted you off in the in the middle of your explanation. Is there anything else you want to add before we start the interviews?
No, I was done.
Awesome, awesome. So here we are, the three gentlemen here on the stage, Earther, Emperor, and Jiftblade. They are the nominees so far running as candidates for this next cycle of the DAO Council. And today we are going to learn a little bit more about each one of them. Uh, we are going to talk about their views. Two of them already council members, so you guys are most likely familiar with everything that they are doing. They have been working hard to preserve Star Atlas ecosystem, to push forward PIPs and overall proposals for the enhancement of Star Atlas as a whole. And Mr. Erter here is also an OG of this project, someone who is deeply ingrained in the Star Atlas ecosystem. And I'm super happy to see that he's also running as a nominee for this council. So yeah, we have three very capacitated individuals here with us today. And we are going to learn a little bit more about their views, about how they feel about Star Atlas, how they feel about the future, and and sorry, I was replying for someone who's running late on this brew here today. He'll be joining us soon. But yeah, I'm eager to learn more about you guys. So, who wants to start? Who wants to be the first to share a little bit about themselves and their view about Star Atlas to the wider community?
I can go first. That way you guys can learn from my mistakes from when I screw up. So,
Nah, Emperor. GM, my friend, how are you doing?
good morning. Doing great. Just sitting on a job site. So hopefully it doesn't get too loud with anybody making noise. But I'm doing great today. Thanks for having us on. Um,
This is interesting. No, go on,
yeah.
sure.
No. I don't mind sharing some personal stuff. I'm a real estate developer, a general contractor. I love the. Hold on, I gotta ignore this call. Um, I love the idea of a decentralized autonomous organization with my real estate stuff. You have HOAs and things like that, and that's one of the things that intrigues me, especially with this international community that we have. And we have, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we have some interesting personalities in this community. So it's really fun to be a part of, creating that community and solving problems. I'm a natural problem solver, mediator type guy. And I've loved Star Atlas from the start. I came on, Swags, you were on the Paul Barron show, and that's where I saw you. I missed the posters, but I have several ships, and almost all of them I bought at VWAP, or I did buy a few above VWAP. So that's how long I've been here. I don't have a guild affiliation, so I'm a lone wolf. And one of the other things I like is at this point where we're at is iterating. Let's break some stuff now before like a ton of eyeballs are on us. I like coming up with the processes and working through that. And I think SAC 2 and SAC 3, we've really laid the groundwork to work through some of those. And my vision for SAC 4 is to continue to do some of that. Currently, there's not a lot of pips in the pipeline. In fact, there's only one, and it's ours. Um, a shameless plug for our pip. It's in Pip Ideas, a council dashboard. But when we have this downtime, when there's not a bunch of community pips, we have the opportunity to potentially iterate on how some of these future processes could work. So that's what I'm excited about for SAC 4. And the sort of elephant in the room, we only have 3 candidates. But we have 3 really, really good candidates. And I think somebody called us the 3 amigos in chat the other day. So I think I like that. We're gonna be lean and mean, and we're gonna get some stuff done and iterate. And I really appreciate Erther jumping on board. Jith, I'm gonna throw both of us under the bus, and our strength, me and Jith, is not communication and announcements and some of that stuff. I'm not a tech guy. I know enough to not get a video recorded, but attempt it. So it'll be nice having Erther on board. So that's my spiel.
Man, thank you first of all, Arthur, for your spiel. You touched many interesting points that I'd love to dive in a little bit. And the first one would be touching on your background on processes and etc. How do you feel about the current PIP process overall, the limitations you touched on SEC 4? Could you spend a little bit on that? How do you feel about the structure we have now, and where do you see we could change or improve in the overall Star Atlas ecosystem, especially in the council processes?
Yeah, that's a good question. When we started, this whole DAO journey, the ecosystem fund, which is 5% of the total treasury, and you can apply for 5% of that. Basically, you used to be able to apply for about 10K worth of funding. Grant funding is what I call it. Now it's down to like 2,200 USDC to Atlas. So that's one of the challenges that we have to navigate right now. Another one of the challenges is the lack of engagement, for lack of a better term. It is what it is. It's coming out of the bear. Hopefully we're coming out the bear. There's not a lot you can do with $2,200, but to be honest, you can do a lot with $2,200 if you're willing to put in some work. So that's a challenge that we've kind of had to navigate. And getting engagement really is pretty difficult. I know there's been some chatter that we should be doing more and whatnot, and we could do better. And that's where Earther being on board can hopefully help us navigate some of that stuff. But I think overall, it's pretty amazing. Thank you, Swags and team, that we're one of the few projects still in existence, and that's due to Michael's leadership, making hard decisions and whatnot. But yeah, we're gonna trudge through this trench that we're in and do what we can to get more engagement, and then keep iterating processes. So challenges, but they can be overcome, and we can use them as tools. We can learn from a lot of this stuff. So.
Yeah, you also touched something very important. The Stratus community, like the core of the community, you guys here, your guilds, the members who are here every day, we make up for a very strong core of a community. Like people grinding the PTR, playing through bugs, sometimes getting mad, but seeing that we are trying to be as quick as possible to fix stuff, to improve the game, to make everything moving forward. And my question here is, how do you guys feel that we can get more people engaged with the DAO ecosystem, like to participate in the community, to maybe start new projects, new decks? Um, you think it's a matter of incentives, or it's a matter of process, or is a matter of us as a team trying to lead them on this front? And this question is open to all the candidates, all the nominees. If you guys want to chime in, feel free to do so.
All right, I think I'll chime in here. So the biggest issue right now is that the ecosystem fund is actually at what is more or less a hard limit. I do not think like honestly trying to do another refresh of the fund is not going to really work until after we know what is going to be coming in at with C4. Because even with a market upturn, that's not really going to increase activity in Starbase. It should help with renewed activity and interest in C4 once that goes live. However, with our limited funds that I keep going over every week in the tag ups, it's like we do want more engagement, but we do have a hard limit on how much stuff we can do that is outside of where we were at the start of the term. So with knowing that, the community is going to have to be a little bit more critical on exactly what we do. So I do think that anything that actually provides direct income back to the DAO is going to gain a lot more traction than stuff that is just basically there to try to just increase engagement. If that makes sense.
Interesting response. Arthur or Emperor, do you guys want to share your insights here?
I'll throw some thoughts in. I think that at this point it seems to me that the DAO is mostly an aspirational idea, and a small percentage of it is being able to be implemented at this point, but that most of it is a future project, and I'm happy to be able to kind of help as a caretaker for what does exist right now, but most of it is yet to come, it seems. And so I'm mostly interested in hearing more about what Michael thinks about this next stage or this next phase in the DAO's life, and what he envisions as the appropriate kind of next steps for for the coming season.
Work talking like a politician, sending the questions to Michael Wagner, who is not even a candidate. Michael, do you want to reply to that, or we can let this after the the others' questions for the
No, no,
candidate?
I don't. Trying to put me on stage here. This is all about you guys. But I can comment on a few things here briefly. I really don't want to take too much stage time because I really do think the focus should be on the candidates. But I guess one comment on this ecosystem fund and the value, and maybe just a minor correction or clarification. The ecosystem fund is 20% of the Dow Treasury, not 5%. But then yes, the each individual PIP can be up to 5% of the ecosystem fund. I guess where my position is on this is that from one perspective, yes, it's absolutely valuable for us to be able to reward and compensate people to help us co-develop and co-create the Star Atlas ecosystem. I think we have kind of compounding negative factors working against us with the DAO right now, which consists of one, kind of reduced activity universally across the Star Atlas ecosystem. Just, yeah, my opinion, largely a result of market sentiment and market correlation and token prices going down and asset prices going down and everything just getting beaten up over a number of years. With no real reprieve seen really since like a small period or window in 2024. So we have activity across the ecosystem going down, and then yes, direct um, the financial impact of the token prices going down. And I mention both simply because what I would like to point to is actually, as we're on this call, I'm currently reviewing two different community projects that are in development and providing some feedback on them. What I want to emphasize is like there are still passionate people in the community that are willing to build and want to build alongside us, regardless of the financial compensation. I think that's financial compensation is an excellent tool for us, but it also, in some ways, will attract people who are just looking to extract value and aren't necessarily as passionate or caring about our ecosystem as they otherwise would be. So I think maybe to an extent to address Earther's question or point is like let's not hyper focus on the value of the ecosystem fund and how we can pay people and how much we can pay people. Let's think about how we reinvigorate the community to want to build alongside us simply because they're passionate about what we're creating, and like appreciate the vision of creating this full decentralized autonomous universe over time. So if from what I'm hearing, and pretty much everyone that's on stage right now has made a comment about it, is that the ecosystem fund value and the value per pip being so low makes it difficult to compensate people. I think we can take an alternative approach, which again is just trying to reach out and get people to create and build and develop alongside us without having to focus so much on how much we can pay them. In terms of the state of the DAO, I don't know if I want to kind of reapproach this topic, but obviously the PIP that we submitted for reimbursement of previous expenses in establishing the DAO and the foundation was quite a controversial one that had a big net negative impact to the DAO treasury naturally. But it also raised this conversation of like, should the DAO even exist right now? Should it be around right now? And I just want to be extremely clear that from my perspective, have zero intention of letting the DAO uh, fold or close up and think about restarting it again in the future. I've touched on this on previous brews, but a lot of work, a lot of analysis, a lot of legal review went into how we established the foundation in the DAO. And that was at a time when we had a lot more resources and guys like Dan Park on the team where we had in-house legal counsel. Some of these resources that are not even available to me anymore. Now I could reach out to Dan, and I do. He and I chat occasionally, but it's not something like it's a direct in-house resource like I had previously, and I would not want to have to go through that process again with fewer resources and less information available to me to decide how to restart the DAO, as well as considerations around regulatory landscape changing. Now, realistically, currently, we are in a much more favorable regulatory environment than we've ever been in crypto in the 14 years that I've been in the space. So that feels pretty good, but we don't know how things change in 2 years or 3 years. So my point is, it's absolutely essential and imperative to me that the DAO continues existing in its current state. And from my perspective, even if it feels pretty weak, or if it feels like the DAO is not accomplishing a lot, or if we don't have a lot of participation and conversation and activity going on in the DAO, what's most important to me is that we're able to nurse this along. And so I'm grateful to the three candidates that are on stage for continuing to donate and contribute their time in a non-paid capacity to participate in building this vision out and guiding the DAO in whatever capacity possible. And even if this term doesn't see a lot of pips being submitted or a lot of things necessarily happening from the co-creation standpoint, it is just so valuable to me to have people guiding it along and taking that burden on our behalf and on the community's behalf. And so I guess that's really it. I don't have big ambitions or big goals for the DAO right now. We all know our backs are kind of against the wall, and we have a lot of. I know, Jindo. This always happens, but our backs are against the wall, and we're building as aggressively as we can to get our next major product release out, and that is C4. You guys see all of the work that we're doing there. We really need to focus the team and company's energy on building that product and getting it released. And so, again, grateful to the people on stage, and whatever we can achieve with the DAO is a net positive.
Yeah, and I want to chime in here real quick. One of the reasons the current council for sure talks about the ecosystem fund limit and the funding. Most people surprisingly don't realize that that's all that the council really and the DAO as it stands has say over, if you will. So it is one thing that we concentrate on and talk about so much is the ecosystem fund. But I did want to address something in response to your question, Jose. One of the things I personally do is when somebody has an idea or a draft, I end up in DMs with almost everybody, and it's not the easiest thing. You know, this community can be kind of brutal sometimes. So I personally try to calm them down, say, hey, don't be taking stuff personal, because if you do put yourself out there, you're putting yourself out there, and you can get responses that are positive and responses that are negative. So I personally try to reach out and, calm the waters and say, hey, keep persevering. This is not the easiest thing in the world, but you can do it. And the council in general, our PIP reviews, we give them a lot of feedback and we try our hardest to help them move their PIP forward and to encourage them. So that is something that the council can do and is doing, which is really important, just fostering that attitude of, perseverance. So.
No, I agree 1000% with what you said and with what Michael said as well. Right now, we don't have the resources to spare on directly supporting the DAO as we would like. That's the honest truth. We need to be focused on the product side. But at the same time, the DAO, the spirit of the DAO, the the ethos of this project, which is decentralization, which is the vision of co-creating the metaverse and etc. This is literally the heart of everything that we do. And I agree with Michael here that the DAO, the existence of the DAO, it's super important. And even if we can't get as much as we wanted accomplished in the short term, this can't die because this is like, I don't know, the heart of the very soul of Star Atlas here. And you guys being here, you guys supporting the DAO, you guys supporting Pips and etc. It is super important to keep this going, keep this moving. And I also would like to agree with Michael on another point, which was that maybe money is not the right, let's say, incentive at this moment. At least the induction of monetary incentives may not be the right approach as of this moment. Maybe we as automata, we also could think of other ways to incentivize participation in the ecosystem. This is something that we need to discuss internally. But also here, like, this is something that I would actually like to hear what the candidates think about. How we could help engage everyone in this shared vision of what Star Atlas is to be. Because we still have strong guilds, we still have people who believes in this vision. How we can bring more people to this ecosystem? Is it only a matter of money? Or is there other things that we could do as a community, as members of the DAO, as the team, to help spread the vision of Star Atlas and get more people more involved in the DAO? And any candidate, please feel free to chime in here.
Well,
Yeah, hearing more,
go ahead, Arthur.
just hearing more about what Michael is envisioning right now was helpful to Kira, especially with the engagement part, because even though the ecosystem fund is kind of the main operational uh, job of the DAO right now, there's a whole lot of engagement and communication work that I think is available to us, and that we can push that forward significantly to help the whole ecosystem and prepare for C4. So I think that is probably going to be my main focus. Is doing all that I can to push us forward PR wise and just getting the word out, and getting more people engaged with the DAO socially. So that's felt encouraging to me to think of it more as a dual role of communication engagement and managing the ecosystem fund.
Very
Yeah,
interesting.
and don't worry, Jose, I've got some ideas that I'll be annoying Swags with. I'm not going to take Lanzer's spot in the in the bugging Swags area, but I've got some ideas that another pet project or two that I want to focus on in SAC4. So to be announced.
Mhm. Very interesting.
All right, I'll chime in. So the advantage of anything that does not include any financial compensation is that we don't even need to do a PIP for it. It can be submitted to PIP ideas in order to gain traction and to let us know about what's going on. But if you want to do something that's just basically free, there's no need to even go through the entire PIP process. You can just do it. That said, on another note, we have a good solid 2 years of runway on the DAO as far as the current Atlas Valley. So we're not really in danger of losing the DAO. We just don't have the money to fund things. We don't have the money to just fund things right now. That's it. Everything else is fine. In fact, like everything with Zinc coming in and all that is perfectly fine. And I do want to actually hear people's ideas on Zinc projects. I actually have a few of my own that I've been holding off on that I will probably start pushing forward once I get in a better position to do that myself.
That's pretty interesting. And this opens another front of conversation. The whole of the DAO Council linked with Zinc activity, which I think could be something huge to bring people to the Zinc ecosystem. Maybe Michael can talk a little bit about ideas on what we are envisioning partnerships, maybe the whole of, not to put you on the spot, Michael, but on the how the Star Atlas ecosystem will change with the introduction of Zinc. How we will envision this new blockchain or new home? We onboard new people. The DAO is going to have a very significant cut of the Zinc airdrop, and etc. This could be used to leverage some incentives from the DAO side, right, Michael?
Potentially, it'll be another capital resource. From my perspective, though, it is pretty important to distinguish between, Zinc as a product and sub-entity of Automata, and Star Atlas. And obviously, there's a lot of crossover right now and commingling because we're building both product lines. But ultimately, they are intended to diverge and have independent teams working on them and building on them. Now, the DAO is not receiving a part of the airdrop, so to speak, but the DAO is receiving that 5% of the total token supply as part of uh, kind of the
Yeah.
minting and Genesis event, right? So the DAO will be bootstrapped with 5% of Zinc token supply, will be operating a validator on behalf of the DAO. There are some questions that were raised by the community on that, by the way, with respect to costs and reimbursement, and I think those should be addressed at some point, not right now, but nevertheless, the intention is to have the DAO running its own validator. The community, I imagine, will be staking much of their airdrop themselves to the DAO validator, increasing its stake weight on the network and therefore increasing the proportional share of total um, transaction fees and network inflation subsidy, which is really a really strong way to continue to build up a balance of zinc. Now, at that point, the DAO is free to do uh, largely whatever it wants with that token supply, and we should probably figure out if zinc gets added to the ecosystem fund or not. But at a minimum, where I think it has a strong potential positive impact on the community is as a way to subsidize player transaction fees on the network. And there's a lot of different ways that that could be implemented and how you determine like share of the fees that are covered. Um, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I have a lot of thoughts on it, and again, a lot of different potential ways that that could be implemented. But I think just baseline, if the DAO were able to cover some portion of user transaction costs on the Zinc network, that naturally leads to net higher margins for players, and we know that there's a strong uh, the financial incentive is one of the biggest drivers of user acquisition and daily active users for us at this time. Um, and so if we can increase margins, if we can make players more profitable, it creates more demand for the tokens and more demand for the game assets, more players in the game, more economic activity, higher GDP. This all drives more value back into the DAO as more activity and higher GDP means higher taxation and capture of fees that go to the DAO. So there is a strong symbiosis between Zinc and Star Atlas, particularly just through this allocation that we're setting aside. But ultimately, the goal is to have independent team building Zinc, recruiting other projects, and building out a robust ecosystem and a true, genuine L1 that people want to build on.
Very cool. Any of the candidates want to chime in on Michael's response?
I just want to say, like, I'm excited to see community members publishing Star Atlas related programs to Zinc, and I've already been publishing um, programs myself just to see how that process goes and to see to document that so that that can be something we add to our community facing toolkit, our open source tools. And yeah, so I'm really excited to see what Jith has got up his sleeve. I think um, any kind of real world use case that we bring to Zinc is valuable. It'll bring its own user group, and hopefully those users funnel back into Star Atlas products as well.
Absolutely, John. I think we went through some very interesting topics so far. Community, you guys on the audience, is there anything else you'd like to know from the candidates or visions that you'd like to share about the DAO, the Star Atlas ecosystem on the community side, how things are moving forward, the kind of things that you'd like to see coming from the council or the future of the Star Atlas community overall in terms of its relationship with the project, with the DAO, and etc. The floor is yours. Otherwise, we'll thank the candidates and move on to talk about the latest developments on C4.
I vote for that.
Very well. If we have no further questions, I'll just like the Emperor, maybe you can give us the timeline of the next steps on the DAO elections.
Yeah, so the voting starts on Sunday. That's why Jit, and thank you for doing that, by the way. This is kind of the last call. I'm kind of unofficially, if you're gonna run, we already extended the campaign period. You know, the self-nominations into the campaign period. So if you are interested, please do it today, because we have to get the documentation over to the team so they can get it put up on the website. But Sunday, the elections start and they run for 2 weeks. And then after the election, then the new council, which will just be further as it is right now. There's a 1-month transition period before SAC 4 actually takes over. So Sunday, 2 weeks of voting, and then a 1-month shadow period.
Very interesting. All right. Thank you, Emperor. Thank you, Shift Blade. And thank you, Arthur, for coming here, for working for the glory of Star Atlas, for taking on this job, this responsibility. You guys are legends. Doubles in the chat for our nominees, for putting in the work, for helping the ecosystem. Thank you, guys. We really appreciate everything that you are doing.
It's a privilege to serve. Thanks for the opportunity.
Just echoing that. Thank you guys. Again, I'm really grateful for your engagement here and participation and helping us shepherd this along.
Very well. Um, Now, Michael and John, we go back to for development. And we have been grinding a lot on many different fronts, on many different areas. Just to nominate a few of the things that we worked out this last week, we fixed the medallions configs. We fixed things like hit and miss messages. You can no longer fire attacks if you have no ammunition, and the UI tells you this. I think I added something like 15 different types of new error messages, like silence bugs that silence errors that you would get if you try to perform an action but you didn't know why it failed. Now you do. John has been working relentlessly on clearing the last barriers that we need to start phase 3, and we are also, whenever we can, trying to add some quality of life uh, improvements to the C4 ecosystem, to the PTR. You guys also asked me for things like adding more, what's the quality, the max crew to include passengers, to create an interface to deal with that. We are polishing the game little bit by little bit, and we are approaching the stage where we'll be able to start turning the actual fun stuff like combat, like in-game rewards, and etc., which is the heart of phase 3. Michael, John, you guys would like to comment on where we are so far, these last legs of phase 2, the start of phase 3, and how you guys see yourselves moving forward?
Yeah, sure. I can jump in there. Just to layer on top of some of the stuff that Jose is working on. I'm currently focused on combat. Sorry, my kids are pretty loud in the next room, but apologize. Um, Yeah, so I'm working through combat mechanics, specifically fixing fleets that are destroyed. The whole fleet shouldn't be completely obliterated. So we want to maintain fleet composition. We want to work on the respawn fees and the medallions that are dropped, and those two are very much related. So Jose's been working on medallions, and I've been working on implementing the mechanics for respawn fees in Atlas. And yeah, so those tie into the broader improvements to combat that you've seen with like real-time combat happening on the map. That was Brave Target. I'm also working on some bugs that Shadow Moon found and reported today, and those were like maximum council rank players were having their transactions fail because they were becoming too big. So I'm building in a self-healing thing in the UI that that identifies that situation and fixes it rather than having to manually go do it. We're enabling safe zone combat for star bases that are trapped within a safe zone when it flips. So we had a discussion yesterday about how much combat to enable in the safe zone and what type, and so we landed on if you have a star base that's orphaned inside of a safe zone because another faction took it around you, that other faction will be able to come and attack the starbase and flip it. The starbase will defend like in its regular way. And then if you had a fleet that's also trapped inside of a safe zone, you have the option to move it out, but you can't move to other areas in the safe zone because inside safe zone movement is blocked. And enemy players will be able to attack you if you're stranded there until you leave, and your fleet will respond, but you can't like outright attack other players in the safe zone. So we worked through all those details, and now I'm building out those PRs. And then another thing that came up, I had a discussion going yesterday about different damage types, and realized that the EMP damage type was just acting like any other kinetic damage. And so I have a change that's coming here that changes EMP weapons so that they drain attack power rather than attacking the player's shields. So that'll be a cool addition to your fleet, having EMP damage. So those are the types of things that we're working through right now. And we've got a million things on the go, and they're all moving quickly. And so you should start to see these changes trickle out this week.
Yeah, I think that was a good summary. I mean, a big initiative for us as we get into phase 3 here is really trying to finalize or at least establish game balance and economic balance that's closer to what we anticipate to be in the release candidate. And so that includes like balancing things like ship configs. We're taking a big initiative right now on resource distribution, richness and hardness and resource locations. We've done a big pass on the council rank XP curve, as well as the XP that you earn per event or activity that you engage in. And so just really trying now to eliminate a lot of the placeholder values that we had just on the initial release and tune it a bit more getting into phase 3. I would note the democracy module was intended to be in phase 2. It never actually made it in there, but we've had pretty extensive conversations now about the functionality or intended functionality of the democracy module, and that is something that'll be released with phase 3. As well as a teaser of the single player campaign. We're not going to release the entire campaign, but we're going to give you a part of that so you can get a sense of what it's going to feel like. But on a high level, I guess just the one other thing I would add here is that the intention is to get this phase 3 released as quickly as possible, hopefully within the next week or so, but we will see how that goes. But get phase 3 released, that should be another 30-day window of testing. This will still be on an accelerated XP curve, just in the sense that we're actually going to be reducing the requirements to progress along council rank. However, it is the genuine XP curve that we want to use, just reduced so you can get through all of the XP experience curve. Yeah, just so just so players can actually achieve like end game council rank within that 30-day window. Um, uh, but as we get through kind of the testing of the balance uh, and distribution of resources and such, then we kind of close out phase 3. We should have a final release candidate that we are comfortable with and confident in, that has eliminated essentially all of the bugs, which was a big focus of phase 2 and to some extent phase 1, although phase 1 got a little overshadowed by new feature development that got implemented in phase 2. Phase 2 was really about bug fixing primarily. Phase 3 now is testing gameplay and balance. We have a release candidate, and then the purpose of phase 4 would really just be go to market and promotional window. And so over that time period, we're going to be promoting not only the release of C4, but also the Genesis event, TGE, and launch of Zinc mainnet. However, during that period, while we don't want to make any significant changes, there should essentially be no code changes to the client over that period. No new features that we're adding in, but we are probably going to be executing that as and some of you may have seen this button when you were playing, but as what we're calling the premium starter bundle. And so this will be a snapshot of all of the real assets that you have on mainnet, as opposed to getting any type of um, standard starter bundle. It's going to be entirely based on the actual assets that you own, and then you'll be able to play the game with the live config with your actual assets and get a real sense of what the gameplay and progression is going to feel like with your assets before we get to mainnet. And I don't know if we've really touched on this at all. It's an idea that we're still tossing around internally, but I'm largely in favor of. And that is that we will probably be pulling some of the economic incentives from Starbased. So some of the Atlas emissions will be removed from Starbased, and we'll be shifting those into the C4 PTR. And I don't know what the ratio is going to be or what the proportion will be, but essentially think of this as a transitionary period where we're already slowly deprecating Starbased and starting to ramp up on C4, and then naturally with the release of C4 on mainnet, the Starbased front end will be fully shut down. You'll still be able to access all of your assets and withdraw them and bridge them over to Zinc, but the front end will be shut down and all economic incentives will be shut off at that time. So that's the general roadmap without putting any hard or definitive dates around it. But roughly we're looking at 30 days per phase, and then probably a 30 to 45 day window for marketing and promotion on the lead up to mainnet release.
Very cool, Michael. And I see some questions in the chat here. Anthony asking about the name premium, is if you have to pay for the. No, I don't think you have to pay, right, Michael? This is just a bundle from your wallet from the assets that you already own, correct?
Yeah, correct. It was just a naming convention that was used to differentiate between the free bundle. Well, I mean they're both free, but the bundle that we distributed to everybody in the initial phases versus this um, specific snapshot of actual assets owned. But you're not going to have to pay for it. It's just a reflection of what you already own on Solana mainnet.
Don't worry, Anthony. Yeah. Yeah, and this is another very exciting news. I don't think you ever shared this before, Michael, but adding economic incentives to the gameplay of the C4 PTR could be very interesting. I mean, this would surely help increase the activity on the C4 PTR and also allow players to prepare for the real deal once the game goes live on the mainnet, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Now, one thing I will say is there would be no intention of carrying over any progression that you earn in this, quote unquote, phase 4 or the go to market window of PTR. However, for anyone that has been earning license XP in star-based, we have determined what the formula is for the migration of that into C4 on mainnet launch, and so those benefits will carry through. And anybody who's been a user or a player of ours over the past couple of years, you're going to get some kind of boost going into the start of C4.
Michael, Dark Void has a question. What would happen if a bug persists until mainnet and causes the loss of real assets in the game?
Well, I mean that would be catastrophic, but we won't, if to the extent that there's a known bug, we're not going to launch on mainnet. If it's an unknown bug, I mean, you know, I don't even want to imagine that scenario.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and just to hop in here, like the snapshot means that nothing on mainnet actually travels. We just make a copy of what you have on mainnet and bring it into the PTR. The Zinc mainnet requires a bridge, and that bridge needs to be battle tested, and that brings your assets into an escrow account, and then creates a copy of it on the other side that can be used in Zinc. And that Zinc is mutable, and it can change, and to whatever degree we want it to. And then when you go to bring it back out, it's the Zinc copy is put into escrow, and the mainnet copy, mainnet Solana copy, comes out and it gets moved back into mainnet. So the a bug in C4 wouldn't burn your mainnet asset. That thing is stored in an escrow account. The risk is in the bridging and the escrow mechanics itself, not in the game. Not in like client side UI or even game logic bugs. I don't, until there's a high risk zone and things are actually burned in the game. Like it's not, that isn't a vector that you have to worry about.
That is that's a really important clarification, and I'm not sure if that's what Dark Void was asking, but just to emphasize John's point here, you're not actually moving any of your mainnet assets over during PTR. We're taking a snapshot or a picture of what you own, and then we're still just distributing artificial assets to you on Zinc testnet during PTR.
Michael Crash has a question. Have you considered reducing the emission of Atlas? Perhaps limiting the quantity based on the number of players?
That's kind of off topic for today, but this is something that I've discussed extensively with people internally, as well as to some extent with the Econ Vantara. I am of the very, very strong opinion that Atlas emissions or inflation is not a negative contributor to token price whatsoever. We have a very high correlation with the macro market, so a high beta, some 99.5% beta to macro, which means that if the cryptos market is going up, our tokens are generally going up as well. If the crypto market is going down, our tokens are generally going down. When we analyze the player behavior with respect to what they do with emissions, something like 90 to 95% of emissions are retained. They're held in player wallets or they're staked in one of the lockers at the DAO. And so, very small selling volume. In fact, our own selling volume probably exceeds that of the players. And so, generally, I don't have any concerns about emissions or inflation right now. It's actually been quite tempered over time and even below our proposed emission curve in the tokenomics paper. It's lower by quite a considerable amount. And then just on the opposite end of that, um, what we do see is really a strong correlation also with token price and daily active users. Again, almost a one-to-one correlation, wherein as token price goes up, we see an increase in number of users. And what's important to consider is that a lot of the players and a lot of the users in Star Atlas care very much about the financial incentives, especially as we're building out the more entertaining elements of the game. And so to whatever extent we start to reduce player earnings potential, we start to lose players. So it's a dangerous game to play, and so as of right now, I do not think it would be a wise strategy to reduce emissions at all.
Very interesting, Michael.
I can respond to AST as well, just as I see it.
Mhm.
But yeah, that is definitely the intention. Now, to be clear, there are many things we can still build, new features we can add, enhancements we can make to C4. By no means as it. Someone ban this guy, Santi, please. Uh, a lot we can still do for C4. So I don't intend to make a complete shift of all team resources into UE5 at that time, but I can share today that Jacob has been working on the Unreal Engine 5.8 upgrade. I know many in the community have been monitoring this and seeing what's going on, but 5.8 adds MCP support, which really unlocks more agentic development capabilities building an Unreal Engine. We already do use Unreal Engine, or sorry, agents for building in some limited capacity in UE today, but the 5.8 unlock is a big one, and that we should be done with the upgrade today or maybe tomorrow, um, which is really that's big, uh, and so when we get through C4, probably a migration of some of the team resources, a few people over to Unreal Engine, and what I'm confident in is that the team has established a really robust set of agentic development skills over the last 6 months or so, given all of the work that we're doing with our own AI agents. And so taking from the lessons and experience of building C4 and starting to apply that to Unreal Engine development, I'm hopeful, if not confident, that that's going to lead to an acceleration of feature development in UE. Maybe one just final point on that, and I think a really important point is that what AI today is not really good at is design, art creation, art production. And so it's not really going to benefit us to the extent of like trying to create new assets and release new assets. But what it will be beneficial for is leveraging our existing asset library and creating immersive gameplay experiences and new gameplay modes, things like our conquest mode, being able to build all of that quite quickly. So the back end aspects of what Star Atlas is, but leveraging our existing asset library.
Thank you, Michael, for the insights. Maybe we answer a last one for NDDR, Michael.
Yeah, I mean the locker addendums are very much on my mind, and this is why I'm also placing a very big emphasis on the democracy module. I think everybody listening in is probably well aware, but the democracy module adds a regional governance system that helps define the fees at local markets at any tier 5 starbase after the democracy module is installed. And so this creates a new revenue distribution system for players in the game based on their total PvP and based on how they delegate that and where they have their diplomats. Now that's just one side, but that adds a lot of utility to Polis. And then on the other end, with a lot of with some of these other new types of fees and new systems like respawn fees that will exist in C4, we can start to layer in additional benefits and advantages for having a higher Atlas locker tier as well. And so I think that those are going to be relatively light lifts for us to get in, but it's not the focus for today. Really, getting the game product out is the most important thing. But I do think we can come back in shortly after the release of C4 on mainnet and start to build out those Atlas locker incentives as well. And so creating a really strong flywheel between earnings, locking Atlas, locking Polis, getting revenue distribution, getting discounts to gameplay mechanics, and starting to drive more acquisition of the tokens and locking in those lockers. Maybe I should, as we close out here, maybe I should just leak one detail of what we've come up with for council rank progression costs. So those aren't added into the game right now, but on C4 mainnet, and actually I think for this phase 3 we're going to have it in there. But your council rank will cost 350 Atlas per council rank point that you research. I think there's 216 council rank points in total that you can earn, and that would add up to something like 86,000 Atlas in total to max out your character. What we want to do is offer through the Atlas locker, if you have a tier 2 locker or above, all of your council rank points are researched for free. And so a tier 2 locker today is 80,000 Atlas. And so the math on it is essentially, or your option is spend 86,000 Atlas to upgrade your locker, or to upgrade, upgrade your council rank, or lock 80,000, retain it, earn polis submissions off of it, get additional benefits by having it locked, and also get all of your council rank for free. So essentially every new person that comes into Star Atlas, to the extent that they're aware of it, and we should make them aware of it, should be incentivized to lock 80,000 Atlas up at a minimum.
Yes, I agree with you, chat. That's a win. I love it as well. Guys, we already passed the hour. And add the Atlas Locker to the game. Sure. I think that's very, very fair. And I think Mike already took enough questions. We need to leave some stuff for the next brew. So yeah, I think this is a good moment to close the chat. As always, thank you guys for joining us at the Atlas Brew. Always a pleasure to talk with the community, to work on improving our ecosystem, our relationship with you guys, and overall to co-develop the universe of Star Atlas. Michael and John, always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for joining this episode once more, and let's keep building. Back to the dungeon.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks everyone.
Back to work. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.